You know, there's a universal truth in construction that nobody really likes to talk about during that honeymoon phase of signing a contract.
Hmm.
You can spend years designing a skyscraper, you can have the smartest engineers, the tightest schedules, but the moment a shovel hits the ground, reality is going to punch you in the face.
It is absolutely inevitable. I've never, ever seen a major project end exactly the way it started on paper. Not one.
Right. You start digging and, oh, there's a sinkhole where the foundation goes. Or, steel prices just doubled overnight because of some trade war.
Or the client just wakes up one morning and decides, actually, you know what? I want pink marble in the lobby, not granite.
And that is usually where the screaming starts.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because if you don't have a rule book for those changes, you end up in court.
Mm-hmm.
Or you end up with a half-built building and a bankrupt contractor.
Which brings us right to today's deep dive. We're looking at that exact rule book, specifically the FIDC Conditions of Contract for Construction, the 2017 edition.
Yeah, everyone in the industry just calls it the Red Book.
The Red Book.
It's the global standard, really. If you're
Yep.
building something huge internationally, a dam, a highway, a power plant, this is very likely the contract that's governing your life.
And we are getting laser focused today on one specific section, Clause 13.
Variations and
It
adjustments.
sounds so dry.
I know it does. But this is actually where all the action is. This clause is the mechanism that answers the billion-dollar question. Who actually has the power to change the deal after the ink is dry?
That's what I want to get into, because usually a contract is a lock. You agree to do X for Y money, but Clause 13 seems to suggest the whole thing is fluid.
It has to be. I mean, think of Clause 13 as a shock absorber. Without it, every time the client wanted to move a wall, you'd technically be in breach of contract. You'd have to stop work, renegotiate everything.
Nothing would ever get built.
Exactly. Clause 13 basically legalizes the chaos.
Okay, let's get into the mechanics of this legalized chaos. We start with Clause 13.1, the right to vary. Reading this, it feels incredibly one-sided. It basically says the engineer who works for the client can just initiate a change at any time.
It's a unilateral right, yes.
So play this out for me. I'm the contractor. I'm halfway through building a bridge. My cranes are set up. My crew's in a rhythm. The engineer can just walk up and say, stop, make it wider. And I have to say, yes, sir.
Pretty much. The clause lists what they can change. Quantities, quality levels, positions, even the timing of the work.
The timing.
Oh, yeah. If they want you to stop building the deck and finish the support pillars first, they can order that. It's not a negotiation. It's an instruction.
That sounds like a complete nightmare for scheduling. But there has to be a line, right? They can't just say, stop building a bridge and build me a hospital instead.
No. There are limits. It has to be within the general scope of the works. But there's a fascinating restriction in 13.1 about omissions. This is one of those little legal nuances that could save a contractor's skin.
Omissions. So cutting work out of the contract.
Exactly. So let's say your contract is for 10 miles of highway. You've mobilized, you've hired staff, you've based your whole profit margin on 10 miles. Suddenly the engineer says, actually just do 5 miles. We're omitting the rest.
Okay, I just lost half my revenue. That's a huge hit.
It is. But under FIDC, they can do that unless, and this is the big one, they are cutting that work just to give it to someone else.
So they can't use me to set the price, realize their cousin Bob can pour asphalt cheaper, and then just slice that piece out of my contract to give to Bob.
Precisely. They cannot omit work to carry it out themselves or to hire another contractor for it. It protects the integrity of the original bargain.
That's a crucial distinction. It stops the employer from cannibalizing the contract. Okay, so the engineer has this God mode to change things. Does the contractor have any kind of shield? Can I ever just say no?
You can, but the shield is small. And you can't just say, no, I don't feel like it. You have to give a specific notice, and you have to do it promptly.
What are the magic words?
Well, there are 3 main defenses. First, unforeseeable. If the change is completely outside the nature of what you signed up for, like your hospital example.
Right. This isn't what I do.
The second is availability.
Ah.
I cannot readily obtain the goods. Simple as that. If they ask for a specific Italian marble and the quarry is, shut down by a strike, you can object.
The supply chain defense. Makes sense.
Exactly. But the third one is the most powerful in the modern era: health, safety, and the environment.
Okay, this is interesting.
If the engineer instructs a variation that would make the site unsafe, like digging a trench without proper support, or if it would violate environmental laws, you are not just allowed to object, you are obligated to.
So safety trumps the engineer's authority.
Always. If you raise a valid safety objection, the engineer has to back off or modify the instruction. They can't just bully you into being unsafe.
That's reassuring. Okay, so that's all top-down change.
Yeah.
But I was reading Clause 13.2, value engineering, and this seems to be the other way around. This is bottom-up change.
Right. This is the innovation clause. This is
Yeah.
the contractor raising their hand and saying, hey, I have a better idea.
Which sounds great. Everyone wins. Let's use plastic pipes instead of copper. It saves 50 grand, but I think I spotted a trap in the text. It mentions design responsibility.
You found it. That is the sting in the tail.
Walk me through this, because usually in a Red Book contract, the client is responsible for the design, right? If the wall falls down because the drawing was bad, that's on them.
Correct. The contractor just builds what they're told.
Right.
If the blueprint says put a column here and it snaps, the contractor says, don't look at me. I just followed the drawing.
Right.
However, under 13.2, if you, the contractor, propose a value engineering change that alters the design,
Let me guess. I own that design now.
you own it lock, stock, and barrel.
Okay.
If you say, let's use this prefab panel instead of brick, it's cheaper and faster, and the client agrees, you are now the designer of that wall.
So if it fails 10 years later...
That is
Yeah.
100% on you. You've taken on the fitness for purpose obligation.
Wow. So you're taking on a massive liability risk just to save the client some money.
High risk, potential reward. I mean, the contract usually specifies how you split the savings, but a lot of contractors are very, very wary of this clause. You'd better be incredibly confident in your better idea.
Okay, let's move to the bureaucracy of it all, the paperwork. Clause 13.3 seems to break down the procedure into two paths.
Yes, path A and path B, or as I like to call them, do it now versus let's talk.
Okay, let's do it now. This is 13.3.1, variation by instruction.
This is when the engineer sends a formal notice saying, change this. The key thing here is the contractor doesn't get to argue about the price first. You have to start the work immediately.
Build first, price later.
Exactly. But the clock starts ticking the second you get that instruction. You have 28 days
28 days to do what?
to submit your detailed particulars. You have to explain how you're going to do the work, how it hits the schedule, and most importantly, what it's going to cost.
And if I miss that 28-day deadline?
Oh, and FIDIC, missing a notice deadline can be fatal. If you don't submit your claim in time, you might find yourself doing all that extra work for free.
That is brutal. Now, you mentioned something about loss of profit here. If the instruction is an omission, if they cut work out, can I claim the profit I would have made?
Yes. This is often missed. Clause 13.3.1 is very specific. If they cut $1 million of work from your scope, you obviously don't get paid the million.
Right, I didn't do the work.
But you can claim for the loss of profit you would have earned on that million because you planned your business around that revenue. It protects your financial baseline.
Okay, that's path A. What's path B, 13.3.2, variation by request for proposal?
This is the what-if scenario. The engineer isn't ordering anything yet. They're just asking, how much would it cost if we added a swimming pool?
So I don't start digging, I just do the math.
You just do the math. You respond as soon as practicable with a full proposal.
But hold on. Estimating takes time. I have to get my quantity surveyors on it. If I spend a week figuring out the price of this pool and then the client says, too expensive, never mind, I've just wasted a week of my team's time.
And FIDI 2017 addresses exactly that. It's the wasted time provision. If you incur cost preparing a proposal they asked for, and then the engineer says no thanks, you are entitled to be paid for the cost of preparing it.
That's a huge improvement.
It is. It stops the client from treating the contractor like a free consulting service. It puts a price on their indecision.
I like that. Okay, moving on to the money pots. Clause 13.4, provisional sums. This sounds like a slush fund.
You could call it a contingency. It's basically a pot of money set aside for work that we know we need, but we haven't defined it yet.
Like, we know we want landscaping, but we haven't picked the trees, so here's $50,000.
Exactly. But here's the golden rule. The contractor cannot touch that money without an instruction. Just because it's in the contract sum doesn't make it yours.
It's on a high shelf, and only the engineer can get it down.
A perfect analogy. And when you do spend it, the transparency is absolute. You have to produce every single receipt, voucher, and invoice.
So no marking up the trees by 50%.
Impossible. You get paid the actual cost plus a specified overhead. It's completely open book.
Then there's 13.5, day work. This feels like the pettiest part of the contract, but I know it causes huge fights.
Day work is for the minor stuff. Go clean up that mudslide. We need a crane for 3 hours. It's work where it's too hard to agree on a price, so you pay by the hour. Time and materials.
So why does it cause fights?
Verification. If you tell me you have 3 people cleaning mud for 8 hours, how do I know it wasn't 2 people for 4 hours?
You don't, unless you
Wow.
were standing there watching.
Precisely. So FDI solves this with a very, very strict leash. The contractor has to submit detailed, accurate statements each day.
Every single day.
Every day. And the engineer has to sign them. If you wait till the end of the month and hand it a big stack of day worksheets, the engineer can, and probably should, refuse to sign them.
I don't remember what happened 3 weeks ago on a Tuesday, so I'm not paying.
Exactly. It forces high-frequency communication. The mantra of Clause 13 is, if you didn't write it down immediately, it didn't happen.
Let's zoom out a bit. We've talked about the engineer changing things, but what happens when the world changes? Clause 13.6, adjustments for changes in laws.
This is vital for long projects. I mean, a dam could take 5 years to build. In that time, governments change, tax codes change.
So if the government passes a new labor law and my costs go up,
You're entitled to an adjustment. The contract recognizes you priced the job based on the laws at the time of bidding. If the goalposts move, you get compensated.
and this covers more than just statutes, like court rulings.
Oh, yes. It covers statutes, ordinances, and judicial interpretations. So if a high court suddenly redefines what environmental protection means, that counts.
I assume it's a two-way street, though.
It is, and contractors forget this. If the government repeals a tax or reduces a tariff on imported steel, the employer is entitled to a price reduction.
You don't get to keep the windfall.
Fair is fair. The goal is to keep the economic balance of the original deal.
Speaking of economic balance, let's talk about the silent tiller, inflation. Clause 13.7, adjustments for changes in cost.
Right, the indexation clause. It uses formulas to track the price of labor, fuel, cement, and so on.
So if the price of diesel spikes, I get paid more based on the formula. It protects me.
Yes, it protects you from market volatility.
But there is a nuance buried at the bottom of this clause that is absolutely vicious if you're not paying attention. I read this and just thought, ouch.
You found the penalty for delay.
Tell me how this works.
Okay, so suppose you were supposed to finish in January, but you're late. It's your fault. You're still working in July. And between January and July, inflation goes crazy.
Right.
Prices are skyrocketing.
Do I get the benefit of that inflation adjustment? I'm still buying materials.
You are, but FIDIC says no. If you're in delay and it's your fault, you do not get the benefit of those rising prices. The clause says the adjustment is calculated using the index from when you should have finished, or the current index, whichever is more favorable to the employer.
That's harsh. So my costs are going up, but my payments are frozen at the old rates because I'm late.
Correct. You cannot profit from your own delay.
But what if prices drop?
That's the real kicker. If prices drop during your delay,
Let me guess. The employer gets the savings.
the employer gets the savings. They get the more favorable rate in both directions.
That effectively doubles the pain of being late. You have delay damages, and you're eating all the inflation risk.
It's a massive financial incentive to finish on time.
So, stepping back, when you look at Clause 13 as a whole package, what's the philosophy here?
I really see it as a living mechanism. People think a contract is a rigid box you're trapped in. But FIDIC knows construction is fluid. Clause 13 isn't just a list of rules. It's a process for managing conflict before it explodes.
It prevents the project from just freezing up every time something unexpected happens?
Exactly. Without it, every change is a breach of contract. With Clause 13, change is just a procedure.
But it's a procedure with very sharp teeth.
Very sharp. And the bridge between the engineer's right to vary and the contractor's right to be paid is paperwork.
That's the big takeaway for me. This legal text is just obsessed with notices, 28-day limits, daily records.
It is.
It feels like the greatest risk in a billion-dollar project isn't the engineering or the concrete or the steel. It's the admin.
I would agree 100%. You can build the most beautiful bridge in the world. But if you did extra work and you forgot to file that Clause 13.3 notice within 28 days, legally, you may have just built that part for free.
That is a terrifying thought. If it isn't written down, it didn't happen.
That should be tattooed on every project manager's arm. The process is just as important as the product.
So for everyone listening, take a look at your current projects. Do you have a real mechanism for change, or are you just relying on handshakes? And more importantly, have you filed your notices today?
Because eventually, reality will intervene.
Thanks for diving deep with us. We'll see you on the next one.
If you're interested in the templates, please visit our shop. The link is in the description.
Thanks for watching. Please subscribe and see next time.